Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hi everyone, welcome back to NPTEL online course on structure, form and architecture, the synergy. Today we are at lecture number 24 and we will be talking on dome structures. So in the last lecture we have seen the type of walls, their use, the fundamentals, and we also came to know about the construction of a vault. It is basically a series of arches. Now in this we will also get to know about the evolve of that particular dome, and it is again in this case like we have to take an arch and then we revolve it. So we just rotate it 360 degree, we can get the shape, or else we can just cut a hollow sphere and we can get it. So we will get into this dome and we will try to understand the materials, the use of that, different components of a dome, the purpose of using dome, and then different types with some images, some examples. So let us get started this lecture. So this is a very introductory slide. So if you just search dome, the first in the Google, so what exactly the definition you will get from the dictionary.com is a rounded vault forming the roof of a building or a structure, typically with a circular base. So what exactly it is, like a rounded vault is basically when we create this space, it is the vault, even the cross arch vault is being represented like a dome, and then it is normally being used and the circular base. So in this circular base I take a rise, this is one arch and I just evolve it 360 degree. So multiple arch like this we just try to create, and then basically whatever the form will get, that is the dome. Like this is some example that is there with us. So this is, if you just try to simplify it, so it is some dome, not really having a very semicircular hemispherical dome. So like there is some other components added, so we will come to that as well. Now here you can see a crystal dome in this. So dome is an architectural element that resembles hollow upper half of a sphere. So that already explained. Starting from a prehistory to the modern age, dome have been constructed using mud, okay. So that we cannot ignore the construction of igloo, that is basically the dome structure, then wood, brick, concrete, metal, glass, plastic, and now like anything. Even we all have played with the plastic ball or the some kind of cricket ball. So if you cut this, that will be a solid dome, but we all are aware about this particular form. So dome is formed through revolution of an arch, self supporting, stabilized by the force of gravity acting on the self weight, hold them in compression, useful to cover the large span. It is again the same. So starting from the dome that we can see in Taj Mahal, or maybe the dome that we have seen in Pantheon in Rome. So it is basically helping us to have a columnless structure. So vault doing the same purpose, but for the corridor or maybe a area of that kind, but dome being used for a larger span. The dome load transfer, how it transfer the load. So let us understand this, and here you get a schematic and corresponding color will have the indication, the type of force that it is dealing with. So the component that we have is basically these meridional portion. So, these are your meridional component of your dome, and that is taking the compression. So, basically if you take one maybe a plastic ball or something, a ball made of a light material, and you try to put the pressure from the top. So, these fibers are always in compression. Then what you have, the upper loop. So, upper loop they will also try to compress. So, they will also be in compression, but the bottom surface, when you press it, okay, the bottom surface will always try to go away from each other, and that is why it is in tension, and then the vertical and lateral load transferred to the down. So, this kind of what we can compare with your latitude, longitude, similar kind of thing. So, you have a series of compression and tension which can be dealt with the dome. So, this is one example that I picked up. This is a dome made of some temporary wood and then the grass or something. It is very old kind of practice to make this kind of structure, but the overall form is again a dome shape. So, it basically giving you a volume, as well as like you do not need to really give much support in between. Move on. So, this is some famous example, and I am repeating this example in many cases because it is worth of repeating of its many features. We can explain many things with this. The use of like this lighting is one component, but here the intention is to show you the dome. So, this dome is basically the dome for the Pantheon, and then here like it can accommodate the gathering. So, this is being used to have a like columnless space. This is something really I need no explanation, the beauty of it, the aesthetics of it, and the centralized dome. So, basically this is a type of dome we refer at the onion dome, we will come to that when we discuss it. So, this is another application of the dome. This is your Hagia Sophia. So, here also you can see the series of dome in a different pattern. So, time to time from the history to the modern, the pattern of dome, the ornamentation of dome, it differs, and in the modern age also we can have something which is a pneumatic dome. That means somewhere we also discuss the typology. The pneumatic means it is filled with the air and then create a form of a dome. This is another example of a dome, but here you can see that instead of your lattice and the hoop, you have something different like a triangulation of that, multiple triangles they form it. So, this kind of form is also called geodesic dome. So, we will also discuss this when the type of dome will be discussed in upcoming slides. Now, coming to the elements of dome. So, here you have some information which are little bit not similar to the vault component or arch. So, we have coffer, we have cupola, lantern, oculus, rotunda, tholobate, pendentif, then squinch and whispering gallery. So, what exactly they are? Though the names are little bit difficult to remember, I know, but looking at the photo we will try to get to identify what exactly, and I am sure that we can really get idea with the sum of the forms and the names and what exactly it means. So, before that in this it is very simple. So, the lantern is the upper part, that the initial picture that I have shown here at the very beginning slide. So, this particular portion is now referring as your lantern, it is similar to that, and not only looking at the shape, but it has a function as well. So, this will be used to create some puncture. So, light can enter to this, and then the interior can be getting some daylight. So, like when we have a lantern something like this, we hold it and then there is a lamp. So, we can get the light, it is something like that. The cupola is the similar kind of thing that we will do, and this is basically when a dome to be placed on a a part of a cylinder. So, this is basically the drum shape. Then whenever you have to change, like you have to place a different kind of dome on a square base. So, you have to make changes at that junction. So, pendant tip will be formed and squinch of arches that will be formed. So, let us try to discuss it. Now, coffer is basically the series of sunken panel. So, this is basically what you can see in order to reduce the volume of the self weight of the dome, we can also have something like this. So, this is basically the coffer, sometimes we call, in this case it is the component is called the coffer part of that, we also refer to the coffer ceiling. So, then where we can really reduce the volume of the concrete. So, suppose this is a solid section, and then if you use the coffer slab is basically something like this. So, looking at the load it can carry, so we can reduce this volume. So, this is basically the cross section I am referring. So, it being used in the modern building. Also the coffer is the terminology to just represent the series of sunken panel. Then cupola is basically what we can relate with a cup. So, the shape, if you just put the cup in this position something like this. So, it is the small most often dome like structure on top of the building. So, something like this you just put on top of it. So, in many buildings like where you have a very similar roof pattern, and top of that you can use this. Move to that, the lantern cupola used to allow the daylight. It is the similar thing that the top of it, the cupola in this case having the transparent glass. So, that daylight can easily enter, and not only the daylight, sometimes even at night time you can get good lighting, some ambience, good view of this particular building. Now, coming to the oculus, this is where the circular opening in the center of a dome or a wall. So, that we can see in again the example. This is basically the view recreated from again the Pantheon and this particular puncture. So, if you go back to the example of this, so this is basically the oculus. Now, what is rotunda? Rotunda is basically any building with a circular ground plan and covered by a dome. So, instead of many buildings you will find that a dome is placed at the center, so that it will look like something like this, or maybe if you use some drum, so it may look like this, but here it is the same where the plan is itself a cylindrical form, or it is basically the whole volume is a cylindrical form and the plan is circular. So, you can see if you just try to make the drawing of this is a circular plan, and then in top of it you have this. Then coming to the tholobat, it is the upright part of a building drum like on which dome is raised. So, this portion is basically the tholobat. Coming to the pendentive, that okay, this is basically also alternatively that we have seen, it is called drum. So, pendentive is basically constructive device which allows the placement of a circular dome on a square room. So, basically if you have like some room like this, and when you place the dome on top of it, so it is basically you cannot you can take the midpoint of that, you can make the circle and you can make the dome. But now this particular portion to be managed. So, in that case what we can do, we can just take out those material, or we just create the portion, okay, we transform that portion, and this particular puncture where from we will take out the material that will be your pendant tip. So, this is basically the pendant tip be created, where the squinch is something where construction filling in the upper angles of a square room to form a base to receive a dome. So, again here some things we have to fill. So, that is the squinch. Whispering gallery is something where it is a circular or hemispherical enclosure often beneath the dome. Okay. So, it is basically a area where you can stand, where you can go, and which will help to whisper, and if you just make a noise in this, and that will take surrounding sound, and you can stand here and listen to this. So, this being there, even in India, this kind of things we can observe in your Gol Gambuj in south. So, if you have visited that, also you experience this, or else in upcoming days if you plan to visit, you can get it. And this is something which is also a part of a dome, sometimes where we can create this kind of scenario. Coming to the materials, so as I already mentioned, it can be mud, it can be snow, it can be brick masonry, it can be stone masonry, wood, concrete or steel, and in this case you can see this being created, a temporary dome being created with the bamboo. So, this is how beautifully they have been creating it, and this is igloo being formed with the compressed ice block, and then this dome being created. Now, the types of dome. So, go to different search, you will get different kind of list the dome. My point is here I have specified the domes which are very popular in nature, but definitely there will be some addition to this list, and I am really I will be happy to listen from you if I just missed out some of the dome, and you can add on to this particular list. So, it started with the corbelled roof, crossed arch dome, which is also like the ribbed vault that we discussed, the geodesic dome, onion dome, oval dome, rotational dome, saucer dome. This is really interesting, umbrella dome, cable net dome, inflated domes. So, what exactly they are and how to really remember. So, I will try to just relate with the terminology and the vault. So, let start with the corbelled dome. So, corbelled dome is basically where we put the layers of your brick or stone one after another, okay, and then we just take some kind of offset, and we just create this type of hollow space inside. So, the more offset you gave, it will look very like pyramidal shape, but if you reduce this particular space between two layers, so definitely it will give you the form of a dome. So, this is something very old kind of structure where without any mortar this being created, and here it is something where in a temple this being again created to make a circular form, and final ornamentation is a different thing, but basic layout is the same. So, we take the span, we have a particular cylindrical form and all. So, we just try to fill the first layer, then the second layer, third layer, fourth layer. So, likewise we will go for this kind of corbelled dome. Now, the crossed arch dome is basically where it is the similar that we have seen that multiple arches, they are creating a octagonal shape, or sometimes even more arches will give more polygonal shape, and then this is being supported with some kind of wall or something. So, this dome being created is the crossed arch dome. So, this one is one of the earliest type of ribbed vault, where ribs instead of meeting the dome center are intervened to the polygons, that we have also seen in that ribbed and clustered vault. Coming to the geodesic, I have shown you one example. Let take this example. This is a model where like triangle being placed one after another to create this kind of form. Another example that I can give you, the formation of the dome, that many of us we also played football, or maybe we watch football. So, football, if you see basically it is a sphere, okay, but in formation of this what we need pentagons and then we need hexagons. So, with one pentagon, so we just create the 5 hexagons, and like that we create the this particular curvature. But instead of that, if you use the triangle, and we can just create this kind of volume. So, this is also very popular nowadays, many such steel structure geodesic dome being created. So, sphere like structure consisting of a network of different triangles provide a self balancing between the structures. This is very useful. These joints are how it is being made, those are very crucial. So, form anchor, how it is being placed to form this. So, the application of this kind of dome is quite modern, and there are many examples that we can come across. So, this is one of them. Coming to the onion dome is the easiest thing to remember. We all know the onion, and the shape is something like this. So, this is a white onion. So, the color may vary, but this shape I just place it here. Earlier I have given example of Taj Mahal. Now, this is something like this. Even if you take example of the Disney land, so there also you get these towers, and then the form is something like this. Even we have something seen in those documentary and video of Aladdin or some Disney movie. So, this is something where we can get it. So, this is basically the cathedral domes from Russia. So, where the form is being easily visible. So, it is look like a golden onion, but yes, this can also be used as a form. Coming to the oval, as it is coming from the shape of oval. So, like something like this. So, here sometimes for some interior space, the plan instead of a circle, the profile is the oval. So, basically a oval dome may be defined as a dome whose plan or profile has an oval form. The geometry is defined as using combination of circular arch that transition at tangential points. So, basically in this case we have to reduce it like this, so that we will finally get the oval form and the series of ovals. So, this is one oval, this is another one, and this being connected to that. So, plan here it is basically a wall, and then on top of it we have this. So, this is oval. Now, coming to the rotational dome is basically where I have started, like we take with one particular circular form, and this is center, you take a rise, then you take one arch, and then you try to revolve it 360 degree. So, after revolving, whatever you will get is basically hemispherical dome if you take this arch and the rise in that panel. So, it is basically the half cut of a sphere. So, it is something, the example that is from the dome of the Jerusalem rock shrine. So, here it is example of the rotation. So, rotating your arch. So, if you find that if these are visible, a few of the arches merging to a particular point, if you increase more. So, basically it is starting from a point and ending to the same point, the revolve of this. So, that is the rotational dome. Saucer dome is basically where it is also referred as a segmental dome. So, we talked about the rise. So, this is your support, and then whatever the height will get. So, this is basically the rise. So, for the saucer dome it is a segmental. So, the rise is something which is not lying in this line, maybe from some bottom of that, and from there we make this particular arch. So, the center of this arch is basically below that. So, a dome having the form of a segment of a sphere with the center well below the springing line. So, this is the line that we have talked about, the springing line even in the vault. So, this particular portion is the saucer vault. So, here you can see that how flat almost it is there. So, it is the saucer dome. Coming to the umbrella dome, it is also known as reaped or parachute dome. So, what exactly it is, we know the form of a parachute is something like this, and also the umbrella. So, where it is basically started with a very simple dome, and then the reaped will actually guide it to take a form of this umbrella. So, this is if you just take this example, this is United States Capitol from US. So, it the example of this umbrella dome. Coming to the cable net dome. So, it is also very important that this particular millennium dome we have discussed earlier as well in when we discussed about the tensile structure. So, in this case these vertical members, they are used as a compressive members, and very finely if you see these images, so they are fixed with some cables. Okay, so multiple cables, they are giving the tension, and this is the fabric material. So, huge dome being created with very few number of such post or mast, we refer technically the mast, it is only taking the compression and the rest of they are tensioned. So, with the cable this can also be formed. The cable net structure can adopt an overall dome shape, okay, albeit individual section are generally flat or anticlastic form. So, we have discussed the anticlastic thing, but again we are just discussing it. Anticlastic form is when the curvature of plane, two curvatures of the plane, they are acting in opposite direction. So, basically I have given example of a chips. So, it is sometimes you just take any example of a chip. So, it is something like this, something like this. So, here I am trying to explain this with this example. So, this is anticlastic means you have a curvature of this particular arch like this, and then you have curvature of the top like this. So, this is basically the anticlastic form that we will follow when we discuss the fabric structure as a form. We will discuss in detail the anticlastic and synclastic curvature, their advantages and disadvantages, but to understand it, basically two curvature in opposite direction. So, this is from the cable net dome. Coming to the inflated dome, can you gauge the material of this dome? So, looking at the image from a distance, it looks similar to a concrete dome, but it is not. So, this is basically the inflated dome being created. So, inflated structure are formed by pressurizing a volume of air, okay, enclosed by a lightweight fabric membrane. So, sometimes even I have given this, cited this example before, that for a game zone in a shopping mall or maybe a local fair. So, we will get something like a structure for the kids, like you have a Mickey Mouse kind of thing. So, people are jumping over it. So, it is nothing but a membrane. So, they put air inside this to give the form, which is self sustaining and adjusting automatically, and when you release it, it will be just flatted. So, this inflated dome being created, this is the Qatar inflatable fabric dome. So, fabric being used, the air is used to give the form, and it is being created. So, this is not only for a structure, even this kind of technique now being used to create as a shuttering to create the dome. Now, obviously for this concave structure or for the huge dome, unless you go for the corbelling, it is very difficult to make the shuttering at certain height and also to maintain the perfect symmetry. So, what we need to do, we can take example of this kind of balloon kind of form, and then we just put the pressure, we just cast the dome as we want, or then we just take it out, we release the pressure, so that this will be formed very smoothly. So, this is very good example, and at low scale if you use this dome kind of structure, they are again mostly taking the compression, and at the bottom hoops you will get some kind of tension. This is also proven to be good for a seismic zone. So, instead of having rectangular, this dome can be used for that, even for the wind. So, they will also help to have a better air flow. So, taking the aerodynamics and oscillation and all. So, these kind of shapes are being useful. So, not only as just the roof purpose of any building as a decoration, even like for normal structure as a building, a low form structure we can also made. So, we will discuss on when we discuss about the structure that is preferable for such disaster prone area, we will come back again with this kind of dome form. Coming to the summary. So, basically in this we have discussed about the dome, and here it is like the basic dome being formed, like it is like half the section of your hollow sphere. This is one idea that we had, and the other one we discussed on the rotation. So, you have one arch and then you evolve it revolve it to 60 degree, and then we get the form of this dome. We have also discussed about the material, the mud. I have also shown you some dome made of your some branches of the tree as well as some grasses to give the form, and then also we discussed about the igloo which is made of snow, and later on like brick masonry, concrete masonry, even the steel, even the cable, and then the last example that I have shown you is just some air pressure. So, due to pressurized air, so inflation of these things being done, and the type of dome, that is a series of dome, and but we can relate it. So, where the rotational dome, we also discuss the onion dome that being used in Taj Mahal or even in the Disneyland. Somewhere we have also seen that particular umbrella or reaped thing that we have discussed for your what we call the saint pictures, or maybe sometimes like the example I have taken for the US state capital, that is there, and then sometimes the dome can be of your core built. So, where like you have to align those particular layer of bricks or masonry in so taking some offset in such a way that it will create a form of arch, and finally it revolve, and then we can get this dome. Now, coming to the advantage of the dome, definitely taking the example of the Pantheon. So, it will be used like it is very useful for covering a large span with minimum obstruction, but the disadvantage that we have, that we cannot use the upper portion. So, that is why normally being used for the roof for the case, and then like it can be easily formed, and mostly it is like self adjusting, transferring the load to the support like this. And then the last point that we discussed, that this kind of dome or curved form that is very useful for the windy area or earthquake prone area to tackle with, that can also be used as a like small unit of as residence. And then also we discuss in modern days, instead of this heavy construction, we just go with some triangulation of your structure with the steel member, and then we form the geodesic dome which is being used to create it. So, we can we have some examples on that as well. So, this is the discussion on the dome and their uses from the history to the modern world, and there is no end of getting the example of that. Please do that exercise to put more examples to this, and if I missed out some of the category which is very predominant, you can also suggest me in the forum. We will get back to you that positively. And these are the some reading materials that being repeated, so you can go with that. So, this structural analysis of historical construction, there you will, in this book you will get some example of construction of dome and all, how this is being done. So, the main idea to discuss each type of structure one by one to get the advantage, their application, the type. So, not only the structural form, or they are capable to take more load, more span is feasible, but as well as the like the ornamentation, that is also we need to understand, because this subject is basically the synergy between the form, architecture and this aesthetics as well as the structure. So, we should also take that point, that how beautifully like ornamentation of vault, then the arches, and then now the dome being created, and we can definitely simplify that. We can go with the classical one, or else taking the new materials and create some good form, and that will make a proper synergy without compromising the structural safety of a building. We can do some great creation with some new materials, new techniques and all. So, again I would like to thank you for take part in this course, and next we will be meeting on with a new discussion on the grid structures. So, moving from arch, vault and then dome, and then we will discuss about the grid and their limitations and their advantages, and then will slowly move to the membrane structure and other structural form that will be useful lecture that will help us to take a decision on the type of structure to be selected depending on the purpose, and we can make the synergy between all these form, architecture and structure. So, till then, bye bye, thank you.